Hey, welcome. Welcome to week two, Humanities 2, Shasta College. Our journey through modern humanities. Last week we did, hope you all had an interesting weekend. I know your papers are due today. Time has passed for the due papers. If they're late, they won't be able to go on Canvas. You'll have to email them to me. You know how to do that. You will lose points. It's worth 15 points. So every day it's late, you lose 5 points. So it could go down pretty quick. So please get those papers in on time. Hopefully you've got them in already. And I will grade them as fast as I can. Have patience on the grading. It takes me a while to read everything and to give them their proper due. This week, we're going to move into one of my favorite sections is theater and plays. Have you ever been to a play? Have you ever been to experience a live theater? Maybe you have. Maybe you've driven up to Ashland where they have great, wonderful theater. They've canceled it all this year because of the pandemic, but we'll be back. It'll be back. And maybe you've seen a play. Maybe you've seen a Shakespeare play. Maybe you think Shakespeare is something to avoid because the language is tricky. It is tricky. And the characters are tricky. They are tricky. Shakespeare is a challenge, and it's a lifelong endeavor to understand Shakespeare. We're going to try to do that this week. I'm going to give you some videos to watch on YouTube. I will post them on the announcements. One is called Shakespeare's Everywhere. It's a TED Talk. Essentially how Shakespeare is literally affects every country, no matter what the language. How is that possible? Shakespeare wrote in modern Anglo language. It maybe sounds poetic to you because it is. Nobody really spoke that way. That's how he wrote, though, in what they called iambic pentameter. It's flowery, poetic speech. But it was very understood by the common man. When Shakespeare is putting on these plays, they're very, very successful. They built the Old Globe Theater. It's called the Old Globe. It's the original Globe in England. And it's an open air theater. And they would come, and it was mostly for the lower classes. It wasn't just for upper class privileged people to watch these plays. It was for every man, every woman, and children were invited too. And so they played these plays from anywhere from Macbeth to Hamlet to King Lear, Midsummer's Night's Dream, so many more. I won't list them all right now, but you can read about Shakespeare in your book if you have it. It'll be there. He started writing in the 1500s. He was very successful in his time, very famous in his time, and he cranked out some of the most incredible modern literature man has ever known. And we're still pursuing his plays. We still go to Shakespeare festivals all over the world. The closest one to Reading is Ashland. And if you haven't been up there to see one, you won't be able to see one this year, I'm afraid. But I suggest you go up the highway there and experience a Shakespeare, even if you won't get it, because you will get it if you see it performed. These plays are supposed to be heard. The language is understandable if the actors are conveying the language in a real and honest manner. You will understand it. Don't be afraid of Shakespeare's language, because you're going to miss out on a lot. But in the meantime, I want you to know, you're going to watch a couple TED Talks. I'll post them on announcements. The other TED Talk is Shakespeare. It's called Shakespeare the First Gangsta. They're comparing Shakespeare to hip hop language and how it all um, sort of comes together and in a very interesting way. So if you think Shakespeare's this old, cranky old language for academics and intellectuals, you're wrong. It's as hip as possible. And what Shakespeare is dealing with is the human condition, and that never goes out of style or out of fashion. And people do Shakespeare in all sorts of manner. They do it in modern dress, they do it in military dress. They just don't do it in old-fashioned dress with swords and sabers, like whatever you may think. There's been a lot of great movies, Shakespearean movies, many Hamlets, starting with Laurence Olivier's Hamlet in the 40s. Kenneth Branagh did a Hamlet. It's 4 hours long. He did the entire text, which they rarely do because they're 4 or 5 hour long plays. Into an incredible movie that came out in the 90s. He plays Hamlet, of course. He directed it. But other people have played Hamlet. Believe it or not, Mel Brooks played Hamlet, and he's not bad in it. Hamlet is the angst-ridden son of a slain king who gets his revenge, and nobody comes out well, not even Hamlet. In fact, you're going to watch, I'll announce this, you'll see it on assignments. It will be Peter Brook's Hamlet. Peter Brook is an incredible director. He's British. Actually, I think he's American, but I think he's lived in Britain and France most of his life. He's getting old now. He's 90 plus. He's directed some of the most incredible theatrical productions in the history of theater, and he works out of France right now, Paris. And he usually directs these plays in such a holistic way that he creates the environment through language and lighting, not through fancy sets or costuming. They're usually stripped down productions, so you're forced to listen to the language and forced to connect to the human emotion. So I want you guys, you're going to watch it. You're going to watch as much Hamlet as you can. It's long, folks. I don't expect you to watch the whole thing because you'll probably be bored, but I want you to at least watch some of it. It's called, I'll announce that on announcements. It's Peter Brooks's Hamlet. It's on, this stuff is all on YouTube, folks, and I'll put the links on there so you'll be able to see it. And then I want you to just absorb as much Shakespeare in the next couple of days, this week, essentially, as you can. But I'm also going to talk about other playwrights. This whole week is all about plays. We're going to be talking about American playwrights, British playwrights, playwrights from all over the world, Strindberg in Sweden, Ibsen, Chekhov in Russia, Eugene O'Neill in America, Tennessee Williams in America, because these people were writing about our times and the people in our times, and that's what humanities is. It's signifiers of the times we're living in. So I'll get to those later, but the next couple of days, I want you to inundate yourself with Shakespeare, and then I'll make an assignment towards the end of the week, and it'll probably be, I'll let you have an option. You can either write about this production of Hamlet, or you can write about other playwrights that I'll suggest. But you're going to have to sit through a play on YouTube, and you'll write about that. I'll assign that later on, probably on Wednesday. I'll be due the next week, and that'll be your next assignment. Like I say, your first assignment was due today. I'll be grading those. Give me several days to grade them, please. Don't rush me on the grading. It'll get done. Don't be anxious about the grading. I'll I'll go easy on this first paper because it is the first paper. You don't really know what I expect, and as we go on, you'll get to know that, and it'll become more obvious. So I'm not going to punish anybody for not coming up to my expectations. As long as I can read the paper and the spelling's correct and it looks like a paper, walks like a paper, talks like a paper, you'll do okay. Each week, my grading will get a little tougher because you'll be a better writer. You'll be writing more analysis and criticism that is more astute and more brilliant. But until that happens, this will be our first graded paper. I hope you're keeping up on the journals. Please do. You should make a journal of at least what we do every week and have a reflection on that journal. Not just telling me what I said, or I want to know what you think about it. So it lets me know that you've actually put some thought process in on it. I hope by now, it's our second week, you should have the book. I'm going to assign a reading chapter, and you could discuss the chapter. I'll do that later on, maybe tomorrow. So please get the book, folks. You're going to need it for these discussions. If you don't get the book, you'll have to probably do some other form of extra credit because you won't be able to participate in the discussions that well. But just give me a heads up if you got the book or not. The class is only 6 weeks, and so we're already through our first week. Welcome to week 2, everybody. Hope you're having a good time in your life. Hopefully the pandemic hasn't been too devastating, or you knew anybody who got sick, or you lost your job. We're all here. We're all doing the best we can with this new way of doing this virtual classes. I was going to have a Zoom meeting, but for some reason my Zoom would not work. And so I've got to call into the Zoom people. Why isn't it working? And they haven't responded yet. I will have a Zoom meeting, hopefully this week, so we can meet together and I can actually see what you look like and be in the room at the same time. I'm still working on it, so I'll be doing that. But for right now, look at Shakespeare. Look at these YouTube videos. Take notes, because there will be at the end of the class probably a quiz, and I might cover some of this. So please take your notes, absorb it as much as you can, and I will post the stuff on announcements and the links to go to on YouTube, and then I'll get back to you later. Hope you're doing well, staying safe, and things are a little bit getting back to normal so too soon. We don't have many cases of the virus here in Shasta County, but if you happen to be traveling or out of the county or whatever, hope you're staying safe and wearing your mask and washing your hands still. Anyway, so here we are, week 2, humanities, Shakespeare. It's gonna get fun. All right, I hope you guys enjoy it. Learn something new. Okay, I'll talk to you a little bit later as we continue our discussion about playwrights and Shakespeare. It all starts with Shakespeare. Thanks. Bye.